Rejoice, everyone. We're back with another Sekhie Reacts to Fate. This time we're doing Uesugi Kenshin.
Look.
Or Nagao Kagetora.
Look. This is Fate's chance to go all fucking out. This is a Japanese servant. This is a famous Japanese person. This is Fate's chance to go the fuck out.
I don't know if this was our last Japanese servant, but Nobunaga was a Japanese servant.
Also, I did my fucking reading on this, and if this is not gender bent, I'm gonna scream. I did my fucking reading. I will scream.
So, did you want to introduce this character, or do you want me to introduce them this time?
Here, fill in what I miss, right? So, Nagao Kagetora, which is the name you originally had on my list, also known as Uesugi Kenshin, right? Also known as Hitotora or Terutora at one point in his life. Terutora as a first name. But basically, he was from the Nagao clan, and he managed to get himself, kind of via blackmail, adopted as heir to the Uesugi clan, took their name, and basically became one of the most powerful kind of daimyo, right, in the pre-Tokugawa era. This is like Nobunaga era, right? Contemporary to Nobunaga, although Nobunaga lived longer.
He was a little bit earlier in Nobunaga, though.
But they lived during the same time, and he fought him several times. Well, once, and then a second time he almost did. But he died. And the way he died is hilarious, and we are gonna talk about that. We are gonna fucking cover that. But he always had Tora in his name, and I guess that was important to him. But he was called the Dragon of Echigo?
Yes.
And he was the Kanto something, but he was, like, in charge of, like, a large chunk of, like...
Kanto Kanrei.
Oh, so I was close. I thought Kanrei, but it's Kanrei. And he was kind of in charge of, like, a large chunk of, like, Japan, like, depending on feudal disputes, basically. And in the end, he ended up, like, fighting against Nobunaga and succeeding the first time. He won! But then he died before his second campaign against Nobunaga. Nobunaga took over. But then, fun fact, later on, his son, who took over, one of his two adopted sons, the one who survived, took over his legacy and actually became one of the Tokugawa, one of the advisors to the Tokugawa, Ieyasu, going against Toyotomi Hideyoshi. And became, like, respected in the Tokugawa line and that sort of thing.
Yeah, you covered.
Yeah, and we are going to cover the female theory and the death in detail, because holy fucking shit, what a shitty way to die.
I'm glad you introduced those aspects. I did want to touch on one thing here, because this is sort of... Because although he did... he has a pretty strong connection to Bishamon, which we've talked about on the channel before, who is a Buddhist figure, but also exists in Chinese, Japanese, and a couple other... Because he basically ruled the most religious part of Japan.
Yeah, and he kind of was aligned himself with Bishamon, or Bishamon 10, who in Japan is known as one of the 7 lucky gods and is kind of the god of war, but it goes by a different name, like Vrisatra or something in India, because he's a Zen Buddhist. He converted to Zen Buddhism. Just
so we're establishing it now, because this is, even though this is not necessarily something we need to know, this is something that's, like, important to the Uesugi Kenshin sort of, like, background history. His fierce rivalry with Takeda Shingen.
That's I didn't remember his name, but isn't that the guy who was called the Tiger of...
Something
the Tiger of the other area or something? Because he was Dragon of Ichigo, and his rival was Tiger of something.
Something like that.
Which is ironic, because he had Tora in his name, always. So you would think they would switch him up. But I guess the dragon was due to his particular sword form, which I saw the name for and does involve Ryu at the end of it, but I couldn't tell it to you off the top of my head because it was a very long Japanese word that I was not familiar with.
Yeah, the two of them were, like, fierce but respectful rivals that fought very bloody battles.
Yeah, they fought like 3 or 4 times. I think their final battle, the Battle of Kanajika something?
See if it's here.
There, Kawana Nakajima. Nakajima, or whatever, was like one of their final battles together. He also like fought like obviously he was embroiled in like a ton of struggles in between land and provinces at the time. So when he changed his name to Terutora, right? That was in honor of, I think, the last Ashikaga emperor who had Hitoteru or something. His name was something like that. But it was like one of the last Ashikaga rulers who he was loyal to. And then after, obviously, when the Ashikaga line ended, that's when the kind of Nobunaga and Toyotomi and Tokugawa kind of like three-way fight for power over the span of a lot of years happened, and then we ended up with Tokugawa in the end.
Actually, so
two-way.
They were all allied in the middle of the Warring States period. Then Nobunaga died, and after Nobunaga's death, they took power, and then it became more of a two-way struggle between Tokugawa and Toyotomi.
Yeah, and one of the fun facts about his son being the part of the Tokugawa regime, I think his son was assigned to be one of the advisors of... Who was the one that died with his young son and was left with like 5 advisors?
Oh, I forget.
Yeah, so he's one of the 5 advisors from that. Or whatever, his son, I think. So it's fairly interesting that, you know. Also, his son took his name, Sekhie Kagetora, one of them. And then the other one took a different name. But they were both adopted, which is fun.
But yeah, no, because eventually Shingen died in a fight against Nobunaga, I believe.
I think so,
and Kenshin apparently he just spent days crying over his death.
Well,
or weeping over his death, or mourning.
Yeah, and after his first conflict with Nobunaga, he wasn't planning to fight him again, but a bunch of people came to him and they were like, Kenshin, you're the only one who can beat him.
And he probably would have won against Nobunaga if he didn't die on the toilet.
What shitty circumstances.
Yeah.
I mean, should we talk about the let's talk about them before we get to the sermon, right? So first of all, this man, this poor man / woman, whatever. Oh man, it was recorded in the annals. He had stomach troubles in the toilet on the 9th day, and on the 13th day he died. And some people think that a shinobi was sent to sit in the latrine under the shit and assassin. Man, I would not want to have that job. That is not the job I would sign up for. To sit in a shit house to kill someone.
That sounds like propaganda to make his death not sound so...
Like he died in the shitter.
Like he died of dysentery.
Yeah, basically. Although
it sounds more like it was an actual disease.
Yeah, according to one chronicle, although I don't know if the chronicle was contemporary to him or if it was a later edition, it's listed as uterine cancer, and it's connected with the myth of him being female.
Which is weird because that shouldn't be possible if he were male.
Male, but if he were female, it's imminently possible because uterine cancer.
From the source I saw, that doctor's supposed to be fairly credible.
Yeah.
So it's weird that mistake would have been made.
Yeah, but also he was called female by a Spanish missionary or something at one point. It called Tia, which means aunt.
I had this at the end of the video thinking you weren't gonna find this, but you did, and I'm happy.
I do my research. Your girl knows how to search her academic journal articles. And then, you know what part I liked most about the theory? The one where apparently people think that Kenshin structured his battle schedule around his fucking period. Because believe me, I'd be structuring my battle days for my most aggressive and irritable days too. Like, you best believe you'd be getting me at my worst if I had to fight you.
For sake of being right here, Kenshin was not a woman, let's be real here.
No.
No, this theory is absolute bogus, but it's hilarious and it's pretty well known in Japan.
Yeah, especially, like, and one of the most evident reasons it's bogus is what reason did he have to hide it? There were plenty of other female rulers at the time who held a lot of power, including militarily. Like, there was no actual reason for him to hide it. And some people attribute it to, like, the painting style of, like, his older portraits being very feminine, and then the Tokugawa ones are very masculine. But also, portraiture in Japan is not very photorealistic or even attempting to be photorealistic. Like, it's quite stylized. So I wouldn't necessarily take my cues on how someone actually looked from traditional Japanese portraiture. You know what I mean? Also, propaganda. Like, he's gonna look the way he wants you to think he looks.
Alright, so I guess Time for the moment of truth. Yes, he is genderbent.
Ah, yes!
And this is Nagao Kagetora.
Damn, son, that's really fucking cool.
Yeah, Nagao Kagetora is actually a welfare servant, so she only has the one design.
Okay, but like, that's a cool-ass design, and it's not that horny. I can appreciate this.
She also has her hood up.
I like the cloak.
I love the cloak. Because Kenshin actually has been depicted with cloaks like that before.
This is a character I finally feel like I can legally be horny for. I'm not saying I'm horny for any character necessarily, but like finally, a hot-ass servant who's covered up. You know what? You know what a covered-up servant means? It means that they have enough faith in this character's design that they don't think she needs to be naked.
I love this design.
It looks really, like, you know what I like about it? It almost, so the robes are white on the outside, red on the inside. It almost feels like she's dripping a trail of, like, blood behind her. It's like water falling off the back. You haven't shown me her April Fools.
I've not.
That's really cute. That's really cute. Her armor low-key looks a little bit like Mulan from the Disney movie.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, yeah. Although it, traditional Asian armor.
Oh yeah, and she's a lancer.
Oh, okay. Ooh, like my coup.
Yes.
I can have another favorite lancer now.
I'm glad you like her. I love this design.
I love that. Like, that sprite looks really, really fucking cool. Like really cool. Like, here's the thing. This is genuinely a really cool design. And it's not pulling from any sort of, like, weird, like thing. Like, this is identifiably traditionally Japanese, you know? Like, we have a Japanese servant, right? Like, a lot about them. You've got a fucking good servant. It's based on even an actual popular theory about the gender swapping of it. Like, it's not some bullshit like fucking Velber 02, you know? Sekhie's still salty about Velber 02.
I'm happy you still remember the term, though.
I don't think the name Velber 02 will ever leave my mind. And I don't think I can forget it. But, like, this is chill. I like this. This looks really good.
So, she is like Nobu from the Gouda, or from the Koha Ace comic. So
okay.
She's a Gouda servant.
Oh, okay.
Let's get
You've seen some Gouda.
Yeah. Oh, so we actually have close-ups of her weapons here, too.
Oh, nice. Katana.
Scroll.
Double-ended spear. Hell yes. Ooh.
It's rare we have, like, these close-ups of their weapons.
Stabby.
So I figured you'd appreciate this.
That's my favorite. I mean, but besides the double-ended, the spears are my favorites. Hell yeah.
So yeah, she's...
Yeah, Dragon of Ichigo, Usagi Kenshin, Nagao Kagetora. Yeah.
And she is a self-proclaimed avatar of Bishamon.
What? Just like IRL.
Yep.
I was reading about Kenshin's Usagi Kenshin's practices before going into battle, right? Like all the stuff he did, like honoring Bishamon and like all the different people and that kind of thing. And I was like, this man took this seriously. Like, wow.
According to her, I believe in fate, she couldn't decide whether or not to bring a sword or a spear into battle. But upon witnessing a mythical Bishamonten wielding 8 swords, she decided she could do all of that.
A woman after my own heart.
Just all of them at once. Why not?
A woman after my own heart. The more pointy, stabby, the better.
Honestly, like, she is a warrior, and she's portrayed as having this charisma and genius on the battlefield.
Does this remind you of my Fate D&D character who currently is just carrying like a veritable porcupine shell of weaponry at all times?
Yes, I'm about to enforce encumbered status.
Y'all don't understand. My D&D character currently, because you don't have encumbered status enabled, I'm currently carrying like 7 swords, 2 lances, 30 daggers. Like, I've got a shield. Because I just keep accumulating shit, and I refuse to leave it at base because I just keep forgetting. Like, I'm just constantly bristling with bladed weapons. And bows. I have several bows.
Okay, so I did give you guys some bows.
Yeah, they're just all with me because the boys can't use them. So you gave us bows, but you didn't give the boys proficiency with bows.
Well, they have to earn it.
Yeah.
In my campaign.
Yeah. And they haven't thought about it. I've told them they should, but they want to do other things with their downtime.
That said, I will start encumbering you soon, because every time you do that and I don't notice, it's because I didn't notice.
I am literally a turtle shell of bladed weapons. Nagao Kagetora would be proud.
Now, she declares that her reason to fight is one of righteousness. It's religious.
Yeah.
Very self-justified.
Yeah. No, I feel like most of the people during this period were like, I'm right. When you think of, like, the big names, like...
There is one problem with that, though. Here's the twist in fate.
What?
So, from childhood, she was feared because in her eyes was a lack of any emotion. She is, despite her charisma, all the emotions that she shows on her face, like, except for, like, the joy of battle, are just completely fake. She is, by all means, a sociopath pretending to have more human connections.
Hot. I have my preferences. Sociopathic with pointy weapons seems to be it.
Alright, so I'm going to scroll through here. I know you're not as big with Japanese, so you might not catch something. But...
I mean, I do actually know a fair amount of pretty specific Japanese, Chinese, and Indian history these days. Especially after taking those, 3 dedicated classes. So I'm not exactly the furthest away from it,
If you see anything.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously we already did the Nobu video, so
yes.
Anytime it mentions Nobu, I can be like, hey, I know that.
Well, Nobu herself has declared Kagetora is far stronger than just some avatar of Bishamon. Nobu, and this is Nobu's belief here, is that Kagetora's strength is inhuman, and it's kind of led to she's kind of seen as because the Bishamon, god of war.
Yeah, Bishamon.
She's seen as a living god of war, basically.
Oh. You know what she reminds me a little bit of? Durga.
Durga?
Well, Durga's an Indian goddess who kind of involves herself with war, but she has 8 arms, and in each arm is held a different weapon, which is pretty cool. I mean, I know that's not the association, because Bishamon is actually associated with someone from Buddhist mythology who is Indian, but I'm just commenting on the fact that I love Durga, and this reminds me of it a little bit with all the weaponry.
So, you saw a bunch of her weapons there, but we know a few of what they can do. We don't know all of them.
Okay.
One of them, so she has a reversible spear capable of creating flames.
That's the double-sided one.
A sword that emits a deadly light.
Okay.
A heavy sword capable of shaking the ground itself.
It's probably the big square one.
A katana capable of releasing an electric blast. And her favorite spear, the one that, the little porcupine, is capable of causing incredible damage through mana against its target.
Look. I'm not saying, right, that, weapons with jagged protrusions are, hot. But, there's something about weapons that are not necessarily meant to stab cleanly, but to rip, tear, and eviscerate that is very attractive. I know. I realize how it sounds. I have issues. It's okay. We can acknowledge it.
Yeah. Alright, so,
I've thrown you off so much.
I just shook the table.
I know, you shook the camera, too.
So, one thing is, on the battlefield, she is incredibly lucky. A large amount of what she's capable of is probably luck.
Okay.
She's strong.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of luck with that.
Yeah.
Except for dying on the toilet. She also has great...
I don't know, fam. Sometimes during that time of the month, it feels like I'm gonna die on the toilet.
And I believe it's from this armor is in the chest. So that's Fate is in the Heaven is her luck in the battlefield. Although she's, Well,
so I know why that's there. Bishamon is one of the 7 lucky gods in Japanese culture.
Fair enough. Oh, Bishamon's divine protection's right there.
Yeah, so Bishamon is considered one of the 7 lucky gods. We actually discussed this in our Noragami episode, because we met Bishamon there. We talked about the 7 lucky gods, because the god you follow is not one of those 7.
I believe armor in the chest here is kind of a defense against projectiles. She's actually a good counter to Nobu's at Noble Phantasm.
Oh.
So we don't have to do Ken Nobu beat her like we did the last couple episodes, I think.
I don't think we brought up whether Nobu... Oh, is Nobu the one who has the age nerfing?
Like the mystery and mysteriousness.
Yeah.
She's good at fighting those people.
Okay, yeah.
Nobu doesn't. She does in fact have a counter to Nobu, and Nobu is... They're at least equally matched, if not.
Nice.
And then her last one here, accomplishment in the feat, is a form of tactics, though she's particularly bad at sieges. She's good at battles, but not good at sieges.
Pretty sure that's reflected historically,
yeah.
too, because there was a few times where she's, like, lost at castle sieges or just had to give up. I'd say she, because...
Fate does that to people.
Yeah.
That is the problem, Fate.
Ugh.
Thankfully, there's Uesugi Kenshin, which I always associate male.
Yeah.
It's
Kenshin.
just Nagao Kagetora is forever ruined for me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
All right, so, was there anything else I wanted to bring up before we move on here? Nobu has indeed laughed her ass off at Nagao Kagetora for having died on the shitter.
I mean, wouldn't you? Look, I understand that this is a sociopath with a veritable pack full of, like, bladed weaponry and the luck of the gods themselves, but, like...
That has to be one of the most humiliating ways to go out for a warrior.
You died on the shitter. Like...
We're 10.
We're 4. 10-year-olds would not derive this much pleasure from this. Like, good God. This, like, it's almost funnier because it's possibly the worst. It is the worst way I could ever imagine dying. Like the worst, right? Because you have to think, right? According to that one diary, like, he was on the shitter for, like, at least 4 or 5 days ill. Like,
and that family expects us to believe a shinobi came out from underneath him.
Right? Like, first of all, second of all, also, fun fact, Yusuke Kenshin is not the only warlord in history to die on the shitter.
I mean, obviously not, but it's a pretty big one for Japanese history.
True, but I think there's another really big one from either Chinese or Mongolian history who ate, like, bad clams or some shit and then literally died on the shitter. Like, surprisingly common. Like, what's the if I had a nickel for every time a famous warlord died on the shitter that I knew of, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's odd that it happened twice.
I don't know, I feel like there's some karma involved in all that.
Oh, man.
Alright, so next we have Nagao Kagetora's NP, the Bisha Monten's 8 phases wheel charge formation.
Now that's some Transformer bullshit magical girl transformation sequence if I ever heard it.
I'm going to describe this here. I'm not going to open up the thing. We'll just watch the animation this time. So, Kagetora goes from switching weapons to deal with different groups of enemies to tactically splitting into 8 clones wielding each of the weapons focused on defeating one single enemy.
Okay.
Let's see. Is there any sort of lore here you want to catch? Or I can look into it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be mostly about, like, Bisha Monten and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move over to the animation here.
Nagao Kagetora Suisan! Yukuzo!
Pop that balloon! Pop that man like the balloon that he is. Sorry, I have a little bit of leftover anger. By the way, we forgot to mention it. I did see it when I was going by, but there was the horse thing that the horse in history summoned.
I forget. I didn't actually see the horse's name in the wiki.
Oh, it's on there.
Is it?
It's something ridiculously long. There it is. Hoshotsukige.
Okay.
Hoshotsukige. It's in her riding class skill.
Oh, right.
It's in the actual riding class skill. Hoshotsukige, a famous horse.
Forcibly selling. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I remember that. Cool looking horse. I like that it matches her colors aesthetically. I mean, that's obviously on purpose, but 10 out of 10 for the aesthetic impact. White, black, and red, very stunning.
So, yeah. I think, so that's about all we have on her at the moment, because she doesn't, if you see her, she does not have any alts at the moment.
Yeah, which is a little disappointing, but...
Yeah.
You said she was a welfare servant, so...
Well, welfares aren't usually excluded from alts, because alts can be made not a welfare.
Is she new?
Relatively. She came out last year in NA, so about 3 years ago in JP.
Okay.
So that just means she hasn't had a lot of time for things like summers.
Okay. Alright.
I like her. She doesn't get a lot to do in Fate, though, or in Grand Order, though, after her initial release. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping to see more from her.
Yeah. No, great design. I like her.
So let's go ahead and head down to the craft essences. As always, I haven't seen these. I do have a sprite here I want to show you, though.
Oh, sweet.
Let's see if they have the... it might be in the expression sheet, which is unfortunate. I'm going to click into this. Does it show it here? No, I'm surprised they don't have it here.
What's it supposed to be?
So she has a look she goes into that's just like her I'm fucking insane look.
Oh, solid gray dead eyes?
Yeah.
It was in the first expression sheet.
Oh, was it?
Halfway down in the middle-ish. Isn't the solid gray eyes? No.
Oh, yeah, right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
See if they... And yeah, she has it in all of them.
One in all of them. Yeah.
Neat. So, yeah. No, she gets that, like, that's the look when, you know, like, she's done putting on the mask.
Yeah. I love her April
That's
Fools.
her original character design right there.
Okay. I like her April Fools a lot. It's very cute. I like the little spear and the sword and the...
you feel kinship as a fellow porcupine.
Very much so. Although I have a sneaking suspicion that Kenshin is perhaps better at being a Lancer than I am.
All right, so she's only got 4
Open them all
CEs.
up, yeah. Why not? I like that one's in the chibi form, so I want to see them all.
So here
T.H.E, Bishamonten. Yeah, that's the 8.
The Bond CE here.
Yeah.
You want to take a look at the art, or want me to move down to the text?
The art's really pretty. It's very... Like, the art really... So here's the thing, right? Like, obviously Buddhism is initially Indian, right? And there is Zen Buddhism in Japan, which basically converts all the Buddhist figures, right, to Japanese beings. But if you look at art like that is intensely Indian in the way that it looks. Like, Japanese art, traditional art, just does not look like that. And I love the look of Indian traditional art. And that reminds me so much of it, you know? So. Oh. Go down. Go down.
She's a Lancer specifically so she can kill Nobunaga.
So why am I a Lancer, you ask? Well, let's just say I had some unfinished business in my past life. If I can meet them on the battlefield once again, I'm going to pulverize them completely and I wouldn't want people to point out that I lost because I wasn't in my more natural rider class, so I've relinquished the rider spot for them. And that's why I've manifested as a Lancer.
I love it. She became a Lancer just to fuck over Nobunaga.
10 out of 10. That is a level of pettiness that I aspire to and admire.
Because it's not in the campaign, but you've seen it before in game, if you've played a little bit FGO. Lancers are good against archers.
Yeah, no, and fucking Nobu is the worst. Nobu is the fucking worst. She's so terrible to fight. She's the worst.
She wasn't what killed you.
No, but she was the worst to fight. Ugh. It might have been the most frustrating fight thus far.
I don't remember you fighting her. Are you sure you didn't fight Okita? Are you talking about Okita?
No, the little Nobus. The little chibi.
Oh, the chibi Nobu.
Yeah. This is the worst.
Good, because there's more of them in different forms that I haven't shown you yet.
Death.
Alright, so go ahead and move on to the next one. God of War.
I'm very, you don't even have to explain that in terms of, like, the titling.
Just new
Bisha
artwork
Monten.
of,
Yeah.
of Nagao Kagetora.
Does it have any...
Probably. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and so fearful of her power, they said, she is not human. She must be the reincarnation of Bishamonten. This is cute. I like this.
This is a burning EX. Like, you just get this and you get rid of it. Because it helps level EX other cards.
Oh, it's really cute. I like it. It's all chibi and...
It actually has words, though.
Yeah. Bring on the arrows or bullets, and please use this craft essence to increase EXP. I like it.
You get it and you burn it into something else.
Yeah.
This is her Valentine's.
Oh, it's the first card, but as a chocolate.
Yep.
Oh, see, now you can see the whole multi-headed, multi-armed, many. This is why she reminds me of Durga, right? Like, this specifically reminds me a lot of, like, statues of Durga and stuff. Una? It looks terrifyingly strong, and I also hold it in high esteem. Yes, it's true. This truly is the Bishamonten of Ichigo. Meow!
I think Fate does describe her as having cat-like, that cat-like sort of calculating look.
Oh, yeah, because cats don't have emotions. They're just evil. They're just evil, but you love them because of it. Like, you love them because they're evil.
So, yeah, that's Nagao Kagetora. It's a relatively short video compared to our recent ones.
Well, look, the sermon doesn't have a lot on it, and it's not really straying in any way, from what I can tell from historical lore at all.
You called out my twist immediately.
Well, it was such a good one.
It was.
How can you not spend half this video about how this person died on the shitter? Also, this has fucked over my gender thing. I can't even, I keep wanting to, I can't keep male, female, straight, so I'm just referring to them as a they. And I have been for like the last 5 minutes because I can't. I keep saying he.
You want to pass an Asian history class again in the future?
Go with he. Jesus fucking Christ. Like, this is bad.
Because unfortunately, it's like one of the most justifiable gender bends in Fate so far.
Like, understandable. Have a day. So, verbal hint for the next servant. Our next servant is featured several times in the Tomb Raider franchise. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you back here.